He stuffs one giant snail after another into his mouth, forcing himself to chew through the nausea before swallowing them down. Because of that, he defeats all the other boys, and just as he hoped, he earns a kiss from the girl he secretly likes. To take things even further with her, he then eats a woman's leather shoe right in front of everyone. In the end, not only does the relationship go nowhere, he eats his way straight into the hospital. When his mother learns the truth, she flies into a rage. No girl is worth doing this for. Once you become the French ambassador, the most beautiful girls in the world will go crazy for you. But the stubborn Roman does not listen to his mother. When he goes out again to find the girl, he is tricked by the boys he defeated that day into an abandoned basement. They not only warn him to stay away from the girl, they also insult Roman's mother with filthy words. Those words are so vicious that even adults would be stunned, and Roman quickly runs away. When his mother finds out, she does not comfort him. Instead, she steps forward and slaps him hard across the face. She believes Roman should never have run away. He should have fought. Even if they beat him to pieces and put him in the hospital, he should have bravely defended his mother's dignity. This mother is so obsessive and wild with her child. Yet she does not dare challenge the noblewomen who have owed her money for 2 months, not only because they have just fled from abroad to Poland, but more importantly because they are Jewish. His mother originally makes a living selling hats and keeps to herself. Yet she is constantly smeared and pushed aside. The police often use all kinds of baseless charges to forcibly search and smash their home. Whenever this happens, Roman hides under the table in fear, but his fierce mother refuses to simply be bullied. She pulls Roman outside and shouts at all the neighbors in the building, "You blind fools, still trying to bully a widow and her child. You should feel honored to know us. My son will be a French ambassador one day. He will be a writer, a general, and a man who receives the Legion of Honor." But the only answer they receive is open laughter. Little Roman is so embarrassed that he runs to the dark, dirty attic to hide. He hates his own weakness and helplessness. Again and again, he slams his head against the wall to vent. This becomes one of the most painful experiences of his life, but it also shapes the life he will have later. Still, when his mother says he will be a writer and an ambassador, it is not just empty bragging. She truly believes it, and she pushes him to make it happen. Whenever outsiders look down on him, his mother tells him, "That is because they do not know you," and those words burn themselves deep into Roman's heart. In the years to come, he will use them again and again to encourage himself, because he can vaguely sense it too. As a Jew, if he does not become extraordinary, he will suffer endless humiliation. If he does not work hard, he will be crushed by oppression. His mother, who never forgets an insult, also knows that if they want to stop being bullied, words alone are far from enough. So she decides to risk everything she owns on one huge gamble. First, she spends a fortune renting a fashion studio. Then she finds an actor friend of hers, someone nobody knows. She has him pretend to be a famous French fashion designer and appear as her supporter. In an age when information travels slowly, almost no one in town has ever seen what the real designer looks like. When the town's noblewomen hear that a big figure has come to this small place, they all arrive eagerly, wanting to see him for themselves. Looking at the packed room, Roman's mother knows her gamble has paid off. And just like that, under the famous designer's name, his mother becomes his only local agent. From that day on, every noblewoman within miles comes here to order custom clothing. Money begins pouring in. As the family grows richer, his mother's dream of making her son great becomes even stronger. When she hears that becoming a violinist can bring quick fame, she immediately signs Roman up for 10 lessons. Roman also wants to fulfill his mother's dream, but reality slaps him hard in the face, because he has no musical talent at all. After arguing with his mother for an entire night, he finally decides to give up. After that, he turns his attention to painting, but as soon as his mother sees it, she stops him at once, because in his mother's eyes, painters only become famous after they die. What she wants is for her son to become famous while he is still alive. With no other choice, Roman starts writing. This time, his mother is extremely supportive. After all, Goethe, Tolstoy, Hugo, and others were all successful and wealthy while they were alive. His mother firmly believes Roman will achieve the same kind of success. Not only that, to build a foundation for entering high society, Roman must study etiquette, shooting, dancing, and everything else between his writing sessions. In short, whether he should learn it or not, he learns it all, simply because his mother demands it, simply because his mother is Roman's authority. So no matter what his mother asks him to do, he never dares to defy her. He only obeys. He does not like the clothes his mother makes him wear, but his mother says, No one knows better than I do what looks good on you. I want you to wear it for me, for his mother's sake. Roman has no choice but to put on the clothes she likes. His mother loves romantic heroes, especially stories about men who are tortured and finally triumph. These stories often completely captivate her, but Roman only sees one thing in them: his mother's expectations for him. His mother hopes he will have the steady gaze of a hero, because that kind of gaze will make women fall for him. But reality soon teaches him that a gaze alone is nowhere near enough. When Roman is 9, he falls in love with an 8-year-old girl. To win her favor, he widens his eyes exactly the way his mother told him to, but his intense gaze does not move the girl. Instead, it is his obedience that wins her attention. The girl takes him to an empty cemetery, grabs a handful of dirt, and tells him to eat it. Roman not only eats the dirt without hesitation, he even chews a dried flower as an extra offering, but his bold behavior upsets the other boys who like the girl. Because of that, Roman is bullied by them for an entire afternoon. When his mother learns he was beaten black and blue because of a girl, she shows no pity. Instead, she praises him for doing well, because in his mother's eyes, for Roman, only 3 things are worth fighting for. First, women. Second, honor. Third, France. From then on, Roman and the girl remain tenderly attached to each other, until he is brutally taught a lesson by the boys who like her. And just like that, his first love quietly comes to nothing. At the same time, his mother's clothing shop begins to face a crisis. The noblewomen who do not want to pay start buying on credit again and again. His mother is forceful, but with them, she can only swallow her anger. Gradually, the shop's finances begin to fall apart because of this. To keep the shop running, his mother has no choice but to take the bills and go door to door collecting debts again. But the noblewomen refuse to pay a single coin, using her Jewish identity as an excuse. Some even order their housekeepers to throw her out. Seeing his mother being bullied, Roman picks up a stone and smashes the noblewoman's window in anger. It is the first time he stands up for his mother, and even in this desperate situation, his mother does not lose heart. Instead, she tells Roman that one day, he will receive the best education in France. For that dream, his mother sells everything in the shop, then sits dazed in the empty room. Seeing his mother so downhearted, Roman puts on music and, like a gentleman, asks her to dance, but his mother is in no mood, so he begins dancing by himself. Watching the son she has raised with such care, his mother finally smiles, and from that moment on, Roman also swears in his heart that he will turn everything around and make his mother's sacrifices meaningful. For this goal, he is willing to devote his entire life. That day, his mother brings Roman to Nice, France. When they reach their new home, both of them are deeply drawn to the beautiful view before them, but no matter how lovely the scenery is, they have to survive before they can keep enjoying it. So his mother takes a pile of silverware to a jewelry shop. To make the pieces seem more valuable, she even invents a story for them that never existed. Although she performs with tears in her voice, the owner sees at once that the items are fake, but the owner is impressed by her talent for acting and asks her to help sell things in his shop. He will give her a 10% commission on every item sold. After saying this, he even takes out his wallet and pays part of her wages in advance. Just like that, his mother gets a real job. As Roman gradually grows into a teenager, his mother's career also begins to take shape. She not only has her own office in a hotel, she also enters the profitable real estate business and even starts running a hotel of her own. Although she has never done this line of work before, she learns incredibly fast. The hotel business soon becomes lively and successful. Mother and son once again live without worrying about food or clothing. His mother even hires a young maid especially to take care of Roman's daily life. And this maid gives Roman his first taste of intimacy between men and women. But before long, his mother discovers what is going on between them. His mother could never approve of a servant. After all, in her eyes, Roman is destined to be an ambassador, a writer, a great man. So she angrily grabs the maid by the hair and throws her out as if tossing away something filthy. Then she even throws the maid's clothes down from upstairs. His mother's extreme control makes Roman feel suffocated for the first time. He locks himself in the bathroom and shouts at his mother outside the door. "You try to control everything I do. I am sick of it. One day I will run away and leave you." But soon, an accident changes his attitude again. That day, they go to the market to buy ingredients. On the way, his mother suddenly collapses without warning. Roman shouts for passersby to call a doctor at once. At that moment, a passerby finds a note pinned to his mother's clothes. It says, "I have diabetes. If I suddenly faint, Please take me to the hospital. It turns out his mother has been sick for 2 years. She has kept it from Roman all this time so she would not add to his burden. Roman wants to share his mother's worries, but he has no idea where to begin. Until one day, a painter arrives at the hotel. This painter is not only gentlemanly, but also wealthy. He originally plans to stay at the hotel for only a week, but in the end, he stays for an entire year, because he falls in love with Roman's mother, but his mother remains very cold toward him, because in her eyes, a painter should be drunk and degenerate. If he is not, then it means he has no real talent. Seeing that his own pursuit is hopeless, the painter asks Roman to help him. Roman happily agrees. So at a grand dinner, when the painter asks to sit at their table, Roman ignores his mother's rejecting look and quickly says yes. But all evening, his mother barely responds to the painter. Just when Roman thinks there is no hope, his mother actually accepts the painter's invitation to dance. This lets Roman breathe a huge sigh of relief, because if the painter becomes his stepfather, his mother will have someone to care for her, and he can embrace freedom without guilt. So after they return home, he strikes while the iron is hot and tries to persuade his mother to accept the painter's feelings. But when his mother, who has been strong all her life, hears what he is thinking, she not only flies into a rage, she also curses the painter away, because his mother's life has only one goal: to raise Roman into someone great, and his mother's love is reserved for Roman alone. After this incident, Roman instantly feels the pressure, because he does not want his mother's expectations to come to nothing. Even more, he does not want to fulfill the promise of his childhood only after his mother has died. So he begins writing harder than ever before. But years pass, and all 4 novels he writes are returned by publishers without exception. After he earns his bachelor's degree, his mother decides to send him to Paris to study law and build his connections. On the day he leaves, his mother reminds him again and again to stay away from fools and petty people, and to remove his shoes gracefully in front of women. But Roman is already lost in the joy of leaving and has no desire to listen to his mother's nagging. He simply boards the train on his own. As his mother clings to the window and watches his back, he is happily helping a blonde beauty with her luggage. Freedom and beautiful women lie ahead. How could he bear to look back? But his mother cannot bear the separation, so she cannot help following him onto the train. When the train starts moving, she almost fails to get off in time. After leaving his mother, Roman begins a life with less worrying about her and more chasing the people he likes. But reality proves that the people he likes are nowhere near as reliable as his mother. One day, his mother calls Roman again, asking as usual how he is doing and whether he needs money. Roman brushes her off impatiently, because all his attention is on the blonde woman he likes. When he sees the woman go downstairs and leave, he quickly finds an excuse to hang up on his mother. But when he rushes outside in a panic, he sees the woman getting into another man's car. The two even share several deep French kisses in the car. And just like that, Roman's romance comes to nothing again. Wounded by love, he begins a wild, drifting life. He also pours all his emotions into his writing. Finally, one morning a few months later, he discovers that his short story has been printed on the front page of a newspaper. The first person he thinks of is his mother, so he rushes home, eager to give her a huge surprise with the newspaper in his hand. After earning the first real money of his life, he not only gives his mother an expensive bottle of perfume, but also takes her to a fancy restaurant for a feast. His mother also begins loudly promoting the news that he is about to become a famous writer, but reality is often far crueler than imagination. After that, Roman's work never appears in the newspaper again. Facing one questioning phone call after another from his mother, he can only pick a random article in the paper and claim he published it under another pen name. Only then does he barely manage to fool her. But this life of deception does not last long before war breaks out. Roman also returns to his mother's side, but as soon as he gets home, his mother tells him to go to Germany and assassinate Hitler, firmly believing he will succeed. Although Roman does not want to do it, seeing his mother's urgent demand, he has no choice but to shoulder this responsibility. But just after he buys a one-way ticket to Germany, his mother comes to him in tears and says, "You cannot go. You are the good son I have worked so hard to raise. I cannot watch you walk into death." And just like that, the great assassination plan is abandoned. But Roman is now of military age, so he enlists and becomes an Air Force pilot. When his mother hears the news, she is overjoyed. She eagerly imagines the day he becomes a second lieutenant and gains both fame and fortune. To live up to his mother's passionate expectations, Roman works hard to perform well in the army. But a few months later, when the promotion list is announced, he is the only one among 300 men who is not promoted. An officer who admires him privately tells him the truth. It turns out all of this is because he is Jewish. When the depressed Roman drags his heavy steps back home, he finds his mother throwing a celebration party. To avoid disappointing her, he lies again, saying he had an affair with his commander's wife. So the commander resented him and refused to promote him. After hearing this, his mother is not disappointed at all. Instead, she is delighted, because among 300 men, Roman is the only one who stole his superior's wife. In her eyes, this is even more worth celebrating and being proud of than a promotion. When Roman returns to the army again, the flames of war have already spread to France. As soon as his mother hears the news, she rushes to the base and opens her arms to Roman without caring who is watching. But this behavior from his mother makes Roman the target of his comrades' ridicule. They call him a total mama's boy. Roman feels deeply embarrassed and wants to quickly take his mother somewhere else. His mother also sees his impatience. She shouts at him, "Do you really think your old mother embarrasses you?" Facing this mother who has always been so strict, Roman once again chooses obedience. He obediently accepts her embrace in front of everyone. To help Roman earn military honors, his mother urges him that he must go to the battlefield. She also says with great confidence, "You will definitely come back alive." But Roman knows that place is hell. Out of 10 Air Force pilots, not even one may survive. He does not want to risk his life that way, but faced with his mother's forceful demand, he once again chooses to obey. Before he can even reach the battlefield, France announces its surrender. Everyone in the army, from top to bottom, expresses intense dissatisfaction. The officer who admires Roman is especially furious. He wants to take Roman with him to Britain to keep fighting, and Roman agrees without hesitation. So that night, under cover of darkness, they carry their luggage and prepare to secretly fly away in a plane. But just as they are about to board, someone finds Roman and tells him to take an urgent call at the control tower. To avoid exposing their plan, the officer tells him to go check it first. He also says he will wait for him 10 minutes after the test flight. Roman runs back to the tower as fast as he can and picks up the phone. To his surprise, his mother's voice comes from the other end. But before they can say much, the line is cut off. When he calls back again, he learns that his mother is sick and has been hospitalized. And at that very moment, the officer's plane suddenly explodes during the test flight. Just like that, by a twist of fate, his mother saves Roman's life. Having escaped death, Roman uses his leave to visit his mother in the hospital. At this point, his mother's face is pale and her body is wasted. One look is enough to tell she has been tormented by illness for a long time. Seeing his mother like this, Roman anxiously finds the doctor and asks how long it will take before she can leave the hospital. But the doctor brushes him off and refuses to answer directly. He even says impatiently, "Your mother is a madwoman." Hearing this, Roman slaps the doctor hard across the face, because he will no longer allow anyone to insult his mother. Not only that, he demands that the doctor respect, cherish, protect, and treat his mother as if she were his own family. After learning that France has surrendered, his mother calls the marshal spineless and demands that Roman go to Britain and keep fighting. Not only that, she also gives Roman a notebook and reminds him never to forget writing. No matter what happens, facing all of his mother's demands, Roman agrees to everything, because now he wants to show himself as a man and fulfill every wish this woman, who has given her life for him, wants fulfilled. As they part, his mother smiles and watches Roman leave, and that smile gives Roman courage for the rest of his life. After returning to the army, Roman decides to become a rebel and join the fight in order to fulfill his mother's wish. So he secretly escapes from the barracks in the middle of the night. After dealing with the comrade who tries to stop him, he grabs his luggage and boards a plane. Then he flies the plane, with only half a tank of fuel, into an adventure that will change his life. After arriving in Britain, he first joins the Free French forces, but the front lines still seems impossibly far away. While waiting, he meets a British woman poet in a bar, but this woman poet is an absolute chatterbox. Roman cannot bear her endless talking, so he simply shuts her up with a kiss. Unfortunately, once he pulls away, she keeps talking just the same. At that moment, a British officer invites the woman poet to dance. Roman is relieved that his ears can finally have some peace, but the next second, he becomes the target of everyone else's laughter. It turns out the woman poet is being groped by the officer while they dance, and Roman, who had kissed her, is treated like a fool who cannot protect his own woman. Roman does not want to be mocked, and even less does he want to watch a woman be bullied. So he gets into a fight for a woman he does not even like. Because of this, he is thrown out of the bar, but the officer he beats still refuses to let it go and follows him outside. saying he wants to fight Roman one-on-one, to avoid disgracing the French and to uphold the Polish code of conduct. Roman suggests a pistol duel. The method is that the two men stand back to back, each take 10 steps, then turn and aim at each other. At the command, they fire at the same time. With one gunshot, Roman wins the duel. Although the other man does not die, Roman is arrested by the military police for attempted murder. To avoid a military court, he agrees to go to faraway Africa as a pilot. The night before departure, Roman suddenly has a hallucination. His mother reminds him that he has not written for several months. He uses the war as an excuse, saying he has had no time for it, but his mother tells him that doing nothing will never make him a writer. This helps the lost Roman find his direction again. After arriving in Africa, he is temporarily away from the war, but mosquitoes become his greatest enemy. Although he now has enough time to start writing, before long the blood-sucking mosquitoes torment him until he is nearly delirious. One night, he actually pulls out a pistol and fires, and somehow he really hits one, but because he fired his gun without permission, he is put in confinement. During that time, he receives a letter from his mother. Aside from a few words of concern, the letter is full of endless pressure to keep writing. Under his mother's pushing, he is almost driven mad, because he is already writing, but he still needs more time. After an unknown amount of time, he is released. Immediately after that, he is sent to Libya to fight the Germans. On the way, parched with thirst, he asks for a little muddy water in his canteen and drinks it, but he does not expect this to infect him with typhoid. After he is sent to the hospital, the doctors believe he will certainly not survive, so they tell him to notify his family and prepare for the end. But when he hears the word family, the dying Roman suddenly becomes emotional and says, "You cannot let me die here with my mother." Even though the doctor keeps telling him, "Your mother is not here," he still pounds his chest and says, "She is here." After all the medical staff leave, Roman has another hallucination. His mother walks toward him with a cane, her steps slow and difficult. As she tidies his sheets and blankets, she scolds him for being a useless man who can only lie in bed waiting to die. Roman desperately explains, "I am already writing, but I am sick now, and I have no strength." His mother says, "So what? Did Maupassant stop writing when he had syphilis? Did Napoleon stop moving forward when he had malaria? So if you are also going to become a great man, you must stand up no matter what. Keep writing, keep fighting, and keep going until victory." She passionately describes the scene of his triumphant return home. Unexpectedly, under his mother's provocation, Roman, who is hanging by a thread, truly survives by a miracle. After recovering, Roman returns to the front line again. This time, he finally gets his wish and enters combat. He becomes the Air Force pilot his mother always wanted him to become. By day, he flies into the sky with his mother's photograph. Countless times, he watches planes crash before his eyes. Countless times, he flies bullet-riddled aircraft back to base. At night, he follows his mother's teaching and writes his work all night without stopping. Before long, his novel A European Education is completed amid the roar of war and wins the favor of a British publisher. He immediately sends a telegram to his mother to share the good news, but in her reply, his mother does not mention the book at all. Roman knows that his mother's expectations are not limited to publishing a book. She also wants to see his achievements on the battlefield, so he fights even harder in combat. But fate is never predictable. During one mission, the plane he is in is unfortunately hit. The other pilot flying the aircraft is blinded by the blast, and Roman's abdomen is bleeding heavily. The blind pilot tells Roman to parachute out and save himself, but Roman still insists on completing the bombing mission, so he calmly guides the pilot to the target position, drops the bombs, then climbs and turns back. In the end, they land safely at the airbase, and they complete the only feat in the history of the Royal Air Force in which a pilot returns successfully after being blinded. Because of this, Roman becomes famous and is hailed as a hero. He is awarded the Cross of Liberation personally by General de Gaulle. After Paris is liberated, he returns eagerly to Nice with his honors. He wants to feel once more the warm embrace of his mother opening her arms to him. But when he reaches home, he discovers that the house has new owners. He runs to the hospital, but the person lying in the bed is not his mother either. Then he finds the doctor who treated his mother. The doctor tells him, "Your mother died 3 years ago." But Roman refuses to believe it, because only a few days earlier, he had still received a letter from his mother. The doctor says your mother wrote 250 letters day and night before she died, and she asked a friend to mail 1 or 2 to you every week, because she knew that if you learned the terrible news of her death, you would not be able to keep living either, so she could only use this deception to give you the strength to keep going. After learning the truth, Roman feels as if every hope has collapsed, but he still continues living, just as his mother wished, and he marries according to her expectations. Years later, Roman writes his own life story into a book called Promise at Dawn. He achieves everything his mother wanted for him. He becomes a writer, a French ambassador and consul, and he wears fine custom-made suits, but his mother will never see any of it. He regrets that his mother never knew he kept his promise, but his wife says, "This book, Promise at Dawn, is the only thing you can still do for her." Roman's life is fortunate, because he has a mother who spares no effort in pushing him forward. She turns him from a humiliated Jewish boy at the bottom into a decorated French ambassador and a respected literary giant. Roman's life is also unfortunate, because his mother's severity, dominance, and intense need for control leave him living under emotional torment for the rest of his life. Although he achieves great success, he loses his freedom and his sense of self. Everything he does is for his mother. He hates his mother's control over his spirit, yet he also loves the way she keeps driving him forward. As a child, he wants his mother's love, but does not want her constant interference. As a mother, everything she does begins with the belief that it is for her child's good, but in this process of giving everything, she unknowingly places chains on her child, trying to hold him tightly in her hands. A mother's painstaking love always exists in that space where it can be understood, but not fully agreed with, and children, generation after generation, will carry this riddle of love, struggling forward as they search for the answer.